Good evening, chemist in Japan de gozaimasu. Well, I've worked 12 hours today in the research lab, so if I fumble this a bit, please forgive me. Um, I'm very, very exhausted. It's been a long day. Um, I even completely forgot to go to class today. I have a class from 2 to 3:30, and I was just working away, just doing the stuff that I need to do. And about 5 o'clock, I looked up at the clock, and it's 5 o'clock, and I didn't go to class today. Anyways, it's been a long day. I'm very tired, but I I felt like I wanted to say something about this, and I hate finding out these things after the fact. Um, because I feel like you know try to be on top of things, but I found out something today, just a few minutes ago actually, that really depressed me. And I mean, it depressed me in the sense of that's too bad that it's happened, but um, the very first piece of Japanese literature that I ever read, in English, of course, was Kokoro. And for various reasons, that novel is very important to me, both because of who wrote it, Natsume Soseki, and who he was, and also for the content of the book. It meant a lot to me, and I read it at a time in my life um, where its impact on me was probably, a bit more than it would have been had I read it at any other time in my life. But in either case, the book has become one of my all-time favorite pieces of literature, and I read it over and over again. In fact, in my last video, I mentioned that I'm reading it again now, and I am. And so, of course, I read the English translation first, and it was then many, many years after I started studying Japanese that I was finally able to sit down and read the book in Japanese. I made several. I bought it. I bought this particular copy of the Japanese version the very first time that I went to Tokyo in 2003, which I couldn't read it then, and it sat on my shelf for years and years. I would take a whack at it every once in a while, but once you've had to use your dictionary 50 times on one page, and not only not being able to know what a particular kanji is, so when you use your dictionary, you have to painstakingly put in each individual kanji either by radical or the number of strokes, and then search for it, and then oh, that's it, and then find that one, and then find the next word and the next kanji in the word, and after you do that about 100 times just to read one page, it's painful. It's very, very painful. So I bought this book in 2003, the Japanese version, and it sat on my shelf for years and years. And at one point I thought I lost it, so I bought another copy of it. Um, so it sat around for a very long time before I was able to actually read it, and it just sat there and teased me. But in the meantime, I had the English translation. Um, this book, not it may not have been this particular one. I can't remember. I've had several different copies of this, but this book, the most famous translation is by this guy right here, um, Edwin McClellan. And when I first started reading it, I didn't really know anything about this guy, Edwin McClellan. And it wasn't until, again, years later, when I really started looking at it, that I learned anything about him. And there's a great Wikipedia article on him, if you so wish to know about him. Um, he's very famous in the world of East Asian language and literature education. He was at the University of Chicago and Yale. He was born in Kobe, Japan, in 1925, and later when I first started was able to read Kokoro in the Japanese version, I started looking at his translation, and and it was interesting, looking at that translation from a language learner's point of view. Um, I mean, obviously there was nothing wrong in the translation, but there were just things that I think that I would have done differently. But and there was a time when I actually was really unhappy with the translation, and it's like, why did he do this? Why did he do that? That's not how I would do that differently. And I guess that's the way all translation goes is, you know, once you look at it, you feel like, oh, maybe you would do something differently. And and there were things that he did in the translation that I thought he dumbed it down too much. But again, that was looking at it through my point of view of a language learner. I had insight into the Japanese language and culture, and so I had a different view of things. But a person who knew nothing about Japanese language or culture um, could pick up this book and read it and understand it, and not scratch his head. Whereas as a language learner, if you rewrote the book, leaving all the complexity in, a layperson, couldn't just sit down and read it without a great deal of frustration. And after a while, I really realized the true beauty of the translation as it is, even though there are still things I would do differently. Um, just because of how I've learned literature and how I've come to love literature. It's all different views, and it comes together. And that was a lesson that I had to learn as a Japanese student, as a student of languages, that different people see things different ways, and and you add your own little part of yourself to anything that you translate. Um, but it has come to mean a lot to me. The translation itself a lot to me, because it is simplistic, and it's supposed to be, and it's beautiful in its simplicity, which is also a Japanese concept. Why am I telling all of this? Why am I saying all of this? Well, the piece of information that I just found out several months after the fact is that Edwin McClellan has passed away. He passed away in April of this year, so it was not long ago. And it took me by surprise. Um, I was very sad to hear that. Um, so I guess that's the piece of information that took me by surprise, and I wish that I had known that at the time. Um, but that just really struck at me, to find that out, that he has passed away. There's a very good picture of him too on the Wikipedia article. The picture was uploaded by his son, Andrew. And anyway, so this is the literature part of me. I was very sad to hear that he had passed away, just to read that he had passed away. So anyway, all right. Thanks for watching.